All right, everyone, settle in. All right, everyone, settle in. We're diving back into Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are. If you've been with us, you know we've been talking about this idea of the software update, how we've been running on outdated, buggy biological narratives for way too long.
And today, we're looking at the most important patch, the context patch. It's about the environment the hardware is running in as much as the hardware itself.
Which, let's be honest, is a lot like my current state. I'm trying to run a fun, relaxed program, but my brain is currently distracted by the tower card I pulled earlier. Everything feels a little unstable.
Can we please not make every conversation about your tarot anxiety, Paco? We have much more interesting things to unpack, like the fact that Nagoski is suggesting sexual submission isn't about weakness, but about turning off the brakes.
Right. Look at how she phrases this. She says, sexual submission requires relaxing into trust, turning off the brakes, and allowing your partner to take control.
And she ties it to something so heavy. She says in a culture where women spend so much time with the brakes on constantly saying no, or being on guard, it's no wonder we have fantasies about just abandoning all control.
It's a survival mechanism, really. If you're always scanning for threats, the only way to experience pleasure is to find a context where the threat is explicitly consensual.
But wait, she doesn't just leave it at trust is good. She brings in the heavy hitters. She brings in rats.
Yeah, she goes full nerd mode here. She uses this study involving rats and Iggy Pop to prove that context changes how the brain perceives sensation.
It's wild. So you've got these rats in a free-chambered box. In the normal lab setting, if you stimulate a specific part of the brain, the nucleus accumbens, they show approach behaviors. They're curious. They're like, what's this?
But then you move them to a spa chamber. Quiet, smells like home, very safe. And suddenly, even the stimuli that used to make them move away now make them move toward. In a safe environment, almost the entire reward system just activates approach motivation.
But then comes the chaos. The third chamber. Blinding lights, and suddenly, Iggy Pop is blasting at random volumes. Total sensory overload.
Exactly. This is the bad nightclub vibe. And in the stressful environment, it doesn't matter which part of the brain you stimulate. The rats just react with what the hell is that? Behavior. Pure avoidance.
And this is the core of her argument. She's saying that if your internal or external context is stressful, it doesn't matter how sexy your partner is or how fancy your underwear is. Your brain is physically incapable of the approach response.
It's a bug in the system. You think you're failing at sex, but your brain is actually just doing its job detecting a threat.
Okay, but she follows this up with a story about Merritt, and man, this hit home.
It's a brilliant case study. Merritt has sensitive brakes. In real life, a tiny noise or stray thought can shut her down completely. But she writes erotic fiction, specifically 50 Shades of Gay.
Which is such a specific, wonderful detail.
But here's the kicker. She's writing about intense power dynamics, men being tied to trees, all this high-intensity stuff. She's getting turned on by the idea of it, but in her actual relationship with her wife, Carol, she struggles.
Because the context is different. When she's alone in bed, she's safe. There's no threat. The brakes aren't being triggered by a said loud noise or stranger. The fantasy is a great context.
But if those 5 big unknown men actually showed up in her bedroom, her brain would scream, run, fight, freeze. The brakes would slam on so hard she'd probably jump out a window.
And then she says something that completely shifted how I think about intimacy. Merritt tells the author, I trust 150%. I'd jump off a cliff blindfolded if you said there was a crash pad.
And Carol just hits her with, that only leaves one other person for you not to trust. Huh?
Ouch.
It's brutal. Because Merritt realizes the problem isn't the partner, it's herself. She says, I don't trust me. I trust my intellect. I trust my heart. But do I trust my body?
And she says, honestly, no, and for good reason.
That is such a profound way to frame it. We spend so much time trying to fix our bodies, but we haven't even addressed the fact that we don't trust the very mechanism we're trying to use.
It's like you're trying to install a new software update, but you're still afraid the computer is going to explode if you click install.
Exactly. And Nagoski moves into the nerdy part of the brain, the mesolimbic cortex, to explain why this happens. She talked about liking, wanting, and learning.
She's saying we shouldn't just call these pleasure centers. That's too simple. It's more complex. It's about the brain evaluating, planning, and deciding whether to move closer or move away.
It's the multifaceted beast, as she calls it. We aren't just looking for a hit of dopamine, we are looking for a way to navigate the world safely.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to look at that soil metaphor. how the deep subconscious parts of our brain are actually transforming these sensations before we even realize they're happening. All right, we're back. We just left off on that heady realization that even when we trust our partners, we might not trust our own bodies.
And now, Nagasaki is pulling a total Tolkien move on us. She starts talking about the One Ring.
Oh, great. So we're moving from sex ed to Middle Earth? Is there a Gandalf in this chapter?
Not quite, but the metaphor is actually incredibly precise. She says the One Ring is the single neural cluster that processes everything emotional. It covers sex, stress, disgust, love, and social connection. It's the One Ring because it mediates all your motivational systems at once.
So, when she says that pop science articles claim the same brain parts light up for sex as they do for cocaine, she's basically saying, duh. It's the One Ring. It's the part of the brain that handles all intense cravings.
Right. It's not that sex is drug-like in a vacuum. It's that the hardware for wanting is the same hardware we use for everything else. And she breaks this down into 3 specific, incredibly cool functions: liking, learning, and wanting.
Okay, liking sounds easy. That's the yes or no part, right?
Exactly. She calls it hedonic impact. It's the is this good, how good part of the brain. She uses a great example in newborn baby. You put a drop of sugar water on their tongue and the liking system just explodes. Sugar is innately rewarding. Salt, not so much.
It's the pleasure component, the perception of beauty, the joy of love, the thrill of winning a game. It's all managed here.
But then there's learning, and she's being very specific here. She's talking about implicit learning. Not like memorizing a poem for a test, but the kind of learning where you don't even realize it's happening.
Like Pavlov's dogs?
Exactly. The dog salivating at the bell. Or those rats we talked about earlier, linking specific jackets or smells to sex. It's the brain creating a map. This thing usually leads to that thing.
And learning is totally neutral. It's not good or bad, it just notes relevance.
Which is a huge point. Your brain can learn that a specific touch is sex-related without actually liking it. That's where it gets scary.
Which brings us to the third part, wanting. This is what scientists call incentive salience. It's the accelerator. It's the force that pushes you towards something or away from it.
So if wanting is activated by stress, you're running towards safety?
Yeah, you're searching for an exit. But if wanting is activated by, say, affection, you're seeking connection. And in sex, it's the drive to pursue stimulation.
And here is the software update moment. She says the sequence is this. First, something sex-related happens, and the brain goes, hey, that's sex-related. That's learning. Then, if the context is right, the brain goes, hey, that's nice. That's liking. And if the stimulus is good enough, the brain goes, ooh, go get more of that. That's wanting.
But it only works if the liking part isn't being drowned out by the brakes.
And she illustrates this with a heartbreakingly relatable example. Context 1. You're pregnant, or just pregnant, and you're having a lovely, relaxed cuddle. The learning and liking are active. Wanting joins the party, and everything is great.
But then, context 2, 2 months after birth. You've been woken up from a rare, precious sleep. You're exhausted. You're lactating. Your body feels different. It's even been pawed by little baby hands all day.
And your partner's hands start to wander.
The learning is still there. The brain recognizes the touch as sex-related. But because the context is stress and exhaustion, the learning doesn't lead to liking. Instead, it leads to dread.
Wanting to avoid sex.
Exactly. And the worst part is the aftermath. The partner thinks, I don't understand. This used to be great. They think the hardware is broken, but it's the context that's changed.
It's the same thing she said about the rats in the nightclub. High stress makes wanting turn into an avoidance response. What the hell is that?
She even takes it further. She introduces us to Olivia and Patrick. They're a great couple, totally in love, but they have these opposite tuning settings.
Let me guess. One of them is a flatliner, and the other is a breadliner.
Precisely. Patrick is a flatliner. When stress hits him, his brakes slam on, he shuts down. But Olivia, she's a redliner. For her, stress actually acts like fuel for her accelerator.
So when they're in finals week at grad school, they are at total opposite ends of the spectrum. Olivia is at her peak interest and Patrick is at his lowest.
And it creates this chasing dynamic, which honestly sounds exhausting.
I mean, if I were in that situation, I'd probably just go play some music and hope for the best.
But as she points out, the frustration feeds the cycle. Patrick feels guilty that he doesn't want sex, which increases his stress, which hits his brakes even harder. and Olivia feels rejected, which increases her stress, which pushes her accelerator even more.
It's a feedback loop of purely biological mechanics, all driven by the one ring reacting to the environment. It's not a lack of love, it's just a very intense software conflict.
We're going deep into the mechanics here, but my brain is starting to hit a wall.
Wait, the delivery guy is literally ringing the bell right now. Pho is here!
Perfect timing. I'm starving. Let's stick 5.